It was a opportunity face house at Mandy Watkins and Rupert Youngman on the way to loving, wedding and eventually installation of famous women clothes mark silence. It was 18 years ago while the later full strangers met in Post-Kong, Australia. Ms. Watkins lived and treated in the town, time Brit Mr. Youngman was down there on feast. I was newcomer a reciprocal boyfriend and was fair imaginary to be stay down there a 1 week, says Mr. Youngman. Yet I met Mandy and I ended up postponing the flying behind. The pair transferred out a length distance novel for 18 months up. Ms. Watkins abandoned her job and excited to London to be in her young man. Someone was departure to include to go, and how someone was departure to be me, says the chatty 49-year-old in her powerful Australia emphasis. I include an British grandma, I'd already excited off, and it was facilitating the way, if he had excited to me and I solved I didn't fantasy him, I'd had found how nonsense to transactions in, she laughs. Fortunately it did job out for the pair, who include now been marital for 12 years, and include 2 family. And there on the internet Vogue mark silence, that they set up of their London household in 2003, now enjoys yearly turnover of £17 meter. Creation. Her own Vogue mark was ever the schedule for Ms. Watkins, who grew up in Melbourne encouraged by her little industry-owning mom and dad. My parent treated for themselves fleeing a pair of away licenses, and all their friends ran their own industry, she says. On driving to the UK Ms. Watkins begun concocting her industry schedule for silence, but out of the cash to start a begin up, she initially had to go on her career in sale. It wasn't before 2 years after while she lose her job in a UK portable telephone business how she was capable to start silence of her cuisine spreadsheet. Initially underfunded by her £40,000 excess receipt, silence begun out marketing females' pajamas and cardigans. Same entire concept was constructed about sense cozy, says Ms. Watkins. I'd excited to the northern brain hemisphere, and I had a big 3-hour circle replace. I'd go household at the end of the date and it would be black and damp, and Rupert's moniker would say, fantasy departure of. I'd be love, are you kidding me, no appreciate thou. All I wish to do is sit in my PJs in a nice volume. Silence quickly obtained pulse in Vogue editorial who begun to refer the mark, and Mr. Youngman united the company in 2005, giver up his early job in publication. The business has with advanced to sale a broad band of accidental and convenient women clothes, consisting knitted, dresses, gaiter and coats. Advantage shoes, mind, sunglasses and some auxiliary equipment. On a date-to-date base Ms. Watkins leads the style job at silence. Time Mr. Youngman, 50, is in accusation of sale, financial and IT. To attract as lot as probable in its customers, the business's website and catalogs include lot of way of life ammunition depot substance, such as recipes, movie reviews, journey articles and celeb interviews. That was the concept of Mr. Youngman, who preliminary to possession his own publication company treated as a reporter. I was thought, how can I do myself helpful, he says. Silence is really drafting. He's equitable to say we were at the foreground of how, not since I'm a genie but since house which my backdrop was and I enjoyed it. Mandy was acute for it, not fair to be on food, he's on the way of life how goes in he. Time silence continues to increase firmly, its yearly rental income rose by 60% recent year, and profits tripled. Ms. Watkins and Mr. Youngman recognize several incorrect turns and challenges on the path. And try to start a menswear band in 2009 was failed, Creature stopped 3 years after. I loving which I do, but design PJs for Ru or men quite rather than for me or female I'm not as concerned in, says Ms. Watkins out there lay the issue. Else issue London-based Silence Florid was how its cigarette lighter year been took 5 years to do a income, as customers instead of privileged its cozy and hot winter clothes. Time turnover go generally via its website, Silence done its at first go in top road retailer recent year while its startup acquiescence in UK division keep John Lewis. Now in 16 John Lewis store, the schedule is to coil out future acquiescence following year. Down there are, yet, no plans to outdoor independent silence store. Occasionally I get very agitated on the concept of a keep and the concept of creation a conception, says Ms. Watkins. Yet not how agitated on while 5 year after it starts to see old, or the lady on a Saturday not lathe up, and later possessing to go in myself. In spite competitive versus more than so established brands such as Puzzle and Whistles, Silence has controlled to goal a alcove in the more competition UK Vogue marketplace, says World Retailer Information Conduct Retailer Analysis Honor Strachan. It has constructed a loyalist next of 25 to 45-year-olds, times several of its more than classical, yet modern trimming, expand its achieve to an older demographics, she says. Yet, Ms. Strachan adds how Silence many faces the problem of an growing standard of contest. Same likes of Peppermint Velvety, Outfit and Contemporary Rare are all targeting a such client, she says. So Silence must go on to develop the mark, time as well increase mark knowledge to be a top of reason purpose amongst the aspirational, trendy 30 advantage marketplace. In spite absorption giving, Silence remnant 100% belonging by Ms. Watkins and Mr. Youngman, and employ 71 members of personnel. Time the most of the companies on the internet turnover now go of during the UK, the business does sale straight to customers about the planet. Ms. Watkins and Mr. Youngman say how 15-year following Silence was start-up, and 13-year with he united, they yet delight work along. I wouldn't wish to do it in nobody else, says Ms. Watkins. Yet it does do you believe which we utilize to say on up Silence and the guys. Occasionally the guys tell, oh no, not Silence once again.